Hey, Dad.
Hey, how you doing today?
Good. Welcome to the Malm podcast. I'm Joel. That's my dad, Rick.
And I'm Rick, and we're going to chat about something
Yeah.
fascinating, I'm sure.
Well, we're on this whole series about relationships. And actually, our last episode turned into 2 episodes because there was just so much to say about conflict in relationships, which is not a bad thing. Conflict is not bad in relationships.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I'm the peacemaker.
And say, refer back to the previous episode to understand why Dad would say something like that.
Yeah, yes. Exactly.
And why I would say that it's the best possible thing.
Exactly. It's all explained right there.
Yeah. So I want to talk today about something that kind of emerged from that, and the idea of this. We all kind of know opposites attract.
Yeah.
Like
When
magnets,
say
right?
that, like magnets.
Yeah, but also sometimes you also see sometimes when the tides turn, opposites repel.
Flock together.
Oh,
We have
yeah.
all these sayings that say the exact opposite. You know?
I would say sometimes the magnet analogy doesn't work because we end up repelling each other. But so I want to talk about, first of all, why is that? Is that I think God sets that up.
I think
the idea
he
that
does, too.
opposites attract. Right?
I at one point in time, when I first noticed that, I thought, God, is this some kind of a big cosmic joke you're playing on us? You know, it's like you put the 2 roosters in the thing, and then you stand back in. This fun watching them fight, you know, because it just seemed that way, you know. I just saw over and over again that opposites attract. And in fact, when your sister Karis was, they were getting married, she said, she called me, she says, Dad, I know that, you know, Mike and I, we're going to have some disagreements and stuff, but I just can't imagine what's it going to be about, because he's just so perfect, you know? And I told her, I said, well, I can tell you what it's going to be about. It's about the thing you like about him now. What you like about him now is you're very spontaneous, and let's do this and let's do that, and all about excitement and fun. And he's very steady. He's steady. That's the best word for it.
He's got your personality type, actually.
Yeah, he does. He really does. Which is probably why he's such a great guy, you know.
Well, we're drawn to what our father was. Right? Yeah.
And so I said, what's gonna frustrate you is that steadiness and the fact that he's not gonna want to run out and do this without thinking it through. And what's going to frustrate him is your spontaneity, which is what excites him and likes him now. And sure enough, it was. Some months later, they had like a little spat or something, and it was over something where she did her spontaneous Karis thing, and he did his, well, you didn't think that through very well, his Mike thing. And
that's Emily and me too.
It is the way it is. Yeah, it's the way, you know, it's the way I think most of us are. And you mentioned, I think it is by divine design. I kind of came to that conclusion a while because I've met people who didn't marry an opposite. And I remember talking to a couple one time, and I said, so you guys, what, like your arguments, discussions? And he says, oh, we really don't have arguments. I said, say what? He goes, no. And then I thought about it. I thought they're both very vanilla personalities, and so they just kind of come together and they just sort of swish through life together, and they weren't opposites at all. They were very compatible, and so they didn't have any arguments, but neither did they really change much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not going to change though unless you get are exposed to something very different than what you're familiar with.
And I think that's why God has developed within us a desire, an attraction to that which is opposite. First of all, because let's take well, like you and Emily, we were talking about earlier, how, you know, she's very spontaneous, she's life of the party, fun, want this, and you're very, this is not going to go well at all. You know, there's a hole in this plan, this is not going to work. And so one complements the other. If you're always the Eeyore going through life and you don't have anybody who's lifting you up, then you're just always, it's probably going to rain. Oh, I'm sure it's going to. And on the other hand, if you're the spontaneous one, things do go wrong sometimes. And so you value that person that you see who has a strength where you have a weakness. Even though you may not realize it's a weakness, there's something built within us that we go, oh, that's attractive to me.
Right.
Here's a person who's different.
One of the challenges with that is she's very believing and trusting, and I don't. I don't trust or believe anyone, because I don't even trust people that say they're telling the truth, because I'm like, you don't even maybe know the truth. You've probably lied to yourself.
Man, you must have had some weird parents who produced
I had a very passive father.
This distrust within you. We need to talk about that sometime.
What's funny is you weren't passive about certain things. There were certain things you just were very aggressive about, like attitude and pride. But anyway, all that to say, what's happened though is she's become less trusting. But the thing is, she's not wired to handle that.
Yeah.
And so it just makes her kind of like paranoid about life. I'm like, I can listen to somebody and go, I like you, but you're not telling me the truth. Like, and I can separate that, right? She is like, that's a struggle for her because she's always like, are they lying to me? Or, she's adopted some of what I'm naturally gifted at, but it's actually a weight she's not very good at carrying because she's not made that way.
Right. Yeah.
And it just is oppressive to her where I'm like, I can handle that. Whereas for me, like if I were to try and act she's got this
the loving everybody and very
open making everybody feel welcomed and bending over backwards to feel welcome. That just first of all, it would be very clunky if I did it. It would feel awkward. I'm just not naturally good at it. I try, but I think I scare people. She's like, why did you come on so aggressive? I was like, I was trying to make them feel welcome. She's like, you came in hot on that one. I was like, oh, but she's naturally good at it. In fact, when I speak at events and she comes with me, I can tell a tangible difference in the room of how they receive me when she's been in the room meeting with people before. It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Apparently I come in too aggressive, even when I think I'm being welcoming.
Yeah. Again, that's where the one weakness makes up for the weakness of the other, and that strength. The strength. Yeah.
And for me to get her to try to be more of me, it just is oppressive to her. She's like, I can't look at everybody thinking they're trying to screw me. Right. And I'm like, well, that's what they're trying to do. Are. Everybody is.
And no, they're not.
So I help her in that area, right? Yeah. Look out for that stuff.
Yeah.
But when she tries to take on that part of me, and that's where I think two really are better than one, for they give a good return for their work, as King Solomon says in Ecclesiastes. Yeah. And that's part of it, is that opposites. Like you've got another angle, the blessing of another angle.
Yeah.
And that's the danger, I think, a lot of times this is a danger for me, is because I'm such a powerful personality, I could discount her more nuanced take on things. And I go, no, this is the way it is. I know for certain. And sometimes I get it wrong because she's like, well, it's not that, you just wrote them off as deceptive, but it wasn't deceptive. There were these things we didn't see. And I'm like, oh, that's true. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, if you can learn to value your spouse's opinion, and the illustration I use is like if I were to take a quarter and I would hold it up here and show it to you, and I would start talking about, look at the work of art on that eagle wing, and you'd be seeing George Washington's head.
Right.
Go, what do you mean eagle wing? No, it's an eagle. No, it's George Washington. Look, you can see his beak. That's not a beak. That's his nose. Who's right? We're both right. We're seeing two sides. But the thing is, if I can say, well, tell me what that side looks like, then I can kind of see the other side of the coin that's hidden from me because of my limitations.
Yeah. So and that gives you a much more thorough perspective on life.
Yeah.
What do they say? We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. And we have a very limited, Paul says we see through a glass darkly.
Yeah.
I know people like me think we see everything exactly as it is, but we see through a glass darkly. And when you have the gift of somebody seeing it from the other side, you actually get a more thorough perspective.
If you value it, but you're so sure that is an eagle. What kind of a nutcase are you to even think that's a man's head? And so you have to realize that, again, it's not one's right and one's wrong. It's different perspectives on the same thing. It's the same coin, but different perspectives on it. And until you can learn to value that different perspective, then you're just going to be blinded. You're only going to be able to see one side of it. And are you right? Yeah, I'm right. I know I'm right. You are right.
Yeah.
But you're not complete.
Okay, I'm going to take this a little bit of a weird direction, but I have something I'm dealing with and I need your advice on. What about when your child is the complete opposite of your personality?
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because you and I are very, I don't know, in some ways we're very similar. I have that kind of more, I don't know, maybe we're not. But you and I are very different in many ways. How did you handle, I know my overwhelmingness stressed out Mom.
Yeah.
Because I would just go into a situation, I'd blast everybody, I'd say incredibly harsh things.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I was right in what I was saying, but I did not do it right. And mom would just be triggered like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
my son is insane. Like,
Well, yeah. Part of mine was I just remembered you were a kid. You didn't know what you were talking about most of the time anyway.
but I did. I was
Well,
right most of the time, even as a 7-year-old.
Maybe, but you're still a kid.
Okay.
And I'm still bigger than you. And that's why God made parents twice the size of the kids, so that if you had to, you could just sit on them, And so I just kind of went at it from, I was just a kid, And I guess part of it is I'd had so much working with children, when I was like 22 or something, I felt like I was the parent of 102 kids.
Because you're a principal, right?
Because I was principal of school.
Yeah.
And there were everything from 4-year-olds to high school seniors. And so I worked with a lot of them and read a lot and studied a lot and studied the scripture as to how these principles are. And one of the things I learned is, don't worry about it when your 6-year-old says, I don't love you, mommy. He don't even know what love is anyway.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. He doesn't really know. And from his perspective, and, he'll grow up. And so I think that kind of helped me a lot, was just to realize, well, you're just kind of a kid. And yeah, you might be right about that, but you're not. In fact, I used to, you probably remember, I said, that leadership and all that is going to be a real blessing to you if you live long enough. If I don't kill you
If I don't
first.
kill you first.
And so you're trying to set some kind of a vision for them that, hey, who you are right now is going to be good.
Yeah.
God designed you that way. But as a kid, you kind of have to tamp it down. You have to tamp it down as a kid.
So here's my challenge. I want her to be more like me.
Mm-hmm. Lots of rock.
And I think a lot of parents are that way. Like,
Yeah.
me worked out well for me.
For you, yeah.
Yeah. And I want her to be more like me. But one of the challenges, and I have to constantly check myself, is she's not like, she's part of the way I am,
Oh, yeah,
but
a little
she's
bit.
not like me. And I have to depend a lot on Emily to kind of get to she is just sensory pleasure overload. There's not too much of anything, and you can never.
Your daughter. Now.
Yes, Elise. She can never ask for too much. Like Emily, I was like, Emily, we can't keep giving her stuff, and she's like, Joelle, she asks for 500 things a day, and I'm like, that's a good point. And I've realized how much of our conversations have to do with her going, and then we could do this. Could we do this too? Hey, Elise, I'm going to get us ice cream for dinner. Do you think you could get whipped cream to put on top? And then we could let's put gummy bears on the ice cream. And then, Dad, after that, what if we did this and that? I'm like,
And we'll take it to the park and we'll go walking and we'll play on the swings and
And I'm like, I was always like, I'm going to be very careful about what I ask for so that I don't ask too much, because I know there's limited resources here and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe I guess she thinks we're rich or something, but.
Well, it's just, no, again, she's just a kid and that's her personality. It's amazing how much.
But that's her bent too.
Yeah, exactly.
And it bothers me, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, she's so opposite of me in that.
Yeah.
How do I direct that without becoming angry at the oppositeness of it?
Well, I think it's because the key that I've seen to anger is typically because you didn't deal with it soon enough. And so you just have to, because here's the story.
Wait, so I didn't crush her desires early enough? Is that what?
That's exactly it. Yes, you have to crush them very early, yes, so that they realize life is hopeless.
That's
There's
right.
no way. Everybody's trying to cheat you and rob you.
You're lucky to scrape by with what you've got.
That's right. No. That's the thing. You want to, it's like with a horse. You don't want to break the spirit.
I know that's my biggest fear, is I don't want to break her spirit. Yeah.
And but that comes from a harshness. If it's said in love, okay, that's enough. We're not going to talk anymore about it.
That's true.
It's the attitude of it, and I don't think you really have a problem with it. It's good that you're conscious of it and concerned about it, but the fact that you're conscious of it and concerned about it means there's probably not a problem. And so you don't want to crush the spirit. But you do, it's like a horse. You don't want to crush the spirit of the horse, but you do want to bridle it in. Yeah. Because you can't have the horse running all over the place.
Which I think brings it back to full circle about this idea about talking about opposites. When it comes back to your spouse too, is it's so important that you don't crush the thing that you loved in that person.
And you can't expect them to be like you, because if they were like you wouldn't really have liked them in the first place.
Right.
That's the same thing that drives you crazy.
Yeah, when she gets all ramped up, I'm like, whoa, calm down, woman.
Yeah.
Like, don't be me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So again, realizing this person is different, it doubles my perspective. And of course, our famous passage we use all the time, as iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm.
And the way iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, countenance of another, Scripture says. But the way iron sharpens iron is through slow friction, rubbing, heat. And as you rub up against each other, you are rubbing off rough spots in her as well as she's rubbing off rough spots in you. And ultimately, after 50 years of marriage, you both become perfect. Well, maybe not perfect, but you do get better. And it does get better and sweeter, and you just realize, okay, this is a divine design that God is working to perfect me. And I put out a little thing one time. I said that the biggest key, as I put this to the parents in our school, the biggest sandpaper that God uses for preparing parents is children. And the biggest sandpaper God uses for preparing children is parents. And so we're both rubbing up against each other. And we're both conforming, theoretically, and hopefully, both conforming each other more to the image of Christ and to what he desires us to be in our personalities, in our character, in our temperaments, and just learning to be more like him.